Hello everyone, this is Sachin Sawant, your UK immigration lawyer. Today I'm going to talk about a topic which there are a lot of questions. We do get inquiries, people discuss about this. Immigration questions asked at the airport. So yes, uh, people are always, especially when they are visiting the UK, either as a business visitor or personal visitor. So when you do go to the immigration officer, or if you are a non-visa national, you scan your passport to and use the e-gates, electronic gates to enter. Sometimes the e-gates may not work, and also if you have been doing repeated entries, there may be programming. There are programmings in the e-gates where they may ask you, the gate will not open and you may be required to see an officer. So officer is the immigration officer at the airport, and this applies wherever you're coming by at an airport, seaport, at any train station, where international trains come. So this applies to European nationals, non-European nationals, everyone. This applies for visa nationals, which means you need a visitor visa or business visitor visa or personal visitor visa to come to the UK, or for individuals from countries such as US, Australia, EU countries who don't need a visitor visa to the UK. The rules apply are these are the same things that apply. These are the same rules that apply. Appendix V, visitor. So people always tell me that yes, I have a right to enter the UK. So if I have a visitor visa without any questions asked, by default I have a right to come to the UK, visit, stay here up to 6 months. It says 6 months at least on a visitor visa. Or even when I've spoken to non-visa nationals, Europeans, also other countries who are non-visa nationals, they mostly 90% of the times they are not asked any questions. They are able to enter unless there are different other reasons. There are repeated visits, any red flag on their case, anything like that. So if there are no such things, people usually assume that yes, and that is the case. 90% of times they will not ask you any questions. You will be able to go through the e-gate, or they'll just stamp your visitor visa and allow you. However, in 10% of situations, so by default they have a right to ask everyone. They may not have that much time to spend on each and every individual that enters. So they have to sort out, they have to see who are high risk, whatever as per their definitions in their systems, red flags, etc. And also when you are coming for the first time, you may be queried. So anytime you are faced with questions, they have a right to deny you entry. So we do deal with situations where people are held up. You call it detention, but yeah, when people say I was detained for an hour, but whatever, they make the inquiries, they stop you there 1 hour, 2 hours. Sometimes they ask you to leave the UK without allowing you to enter. These are the things that do happen. Not everyone is aware of. So yes, we do discuss with them. I have many times spoken to immigration officers and explain the situation, any documentation we have represented at the airport, etc. We do speak to them on a regular basis. So I do understand from where they are coming from, what the client is trying to say. So we do negotiate between both the parties. We have done that. I have myself done it many times. So their main concern is, I'll point out the concern and then I'll go to the questions. So mainly their concern is you will leave the UK at the end of your stay. Very important. These questions are also asked on the visitor visa application. So leave UK at the end of your stay. So when your purpose of visit ends, when you are required to leave the UK, maximum 6 months after your date of entry, or by the date of your end of your visitor visa, you will leave the UK. You will not just stay here permanently. So that is one important thing they need to assess. That's the reason they ask you whatever questions they ask you. Second is, you will not work illegally in the UK. So by default, you don't have a right to work. There are certain exceptions on specific cases like business visitor visa. You can come for small visits to build up your plant and machinery if you are being sent by the producer, manufacturer, etc. There are several exceptions. So other than that, by default, you don't have a right to work in the UK when you are a visitor, and you will leave at the end of your stay. That is the main thing they are looking at. That's the main reason why they are asking you anything and everything. So visitors, if this is your if you already entered before, you had previous visits, then if you have had any overstays in the past, you overstayed your visa maybe just by a day or anything like that, definitely you will be asked questions. It's highly likely. So, and if that has come to their notice, usually they will definitely query and understand why did you overstay the last time to give you entry this time. If there are no previous visits and no issues on the previous visits, then this is your first entry. If you had a clean record and you have entered once or twice, you may not even be asked questions. So you come in the 90% category where you already have a good immigration history, you may not even be questioned at all. And if this is your first entry, then the type of questions that will be asked is mainly if you have filled up the immigration application, the visitor visa application, similar questions are asked on the application as well. But they have a right to assess it as well if they doubt anything, or just they have to randomly pick up out of every 100, they have to pick maybe 2-3 of them and try to assess, because they also have a job to do. So it's nothing against you in person, but you may also be randomly get picked up. So if at all that happens, then they would want to assess what is the purpose of your visit. They may simply ask you, what is the purpose of your visit? You may say, okay, for tourism, or if you are a business visitor, you may say, I've come to for business visit, and that would be sufficient. If you have any documents to show, yes, you should definitely produce in front of them. If you have a letter from the sponsor, if you have any relative, friend, whoever has sponsored you, or where you're going to live, etc., definitely produce it to them. They will at least have a read through it. Secondly, if you have a return ticket, do tell them that yes, I also have a return ticket of this day. If they are specifically, they will ask you how long are you going to stay, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever. If you stay exactly 6 months, yes, they can allow you, but be mindful. I understand that people try to use up the whole 6 months. I would not advise either ways, whether to say 6 months or less, but if you are trying to use up the whole of your visas, and this is happening repeatedly, if they see that previously also you visited and you stayed the whole of your 6 months that were allowed, 180 days entry, 6 months leave to enter, if that is what you are doing regularly, they may question you and try to understand from you whether you are working illegally or you are setting up a business or something like that. There are different ways. I have spoken to many people who have ended up registering companies in their name. They have done there have been situations where we have to tell them, no, you cannot do this, you cannot work in the UK, you cannot do business in the UK, but then knowingly or unknowingly people have done it. So hence they also try to assess this, and they want to make sure that these rules are not abused. So purpose of visit, why are you visiting today, how long are you going to stay in the UK, let's say 4 weeks, where will you stay, any relative, if the company has provided you any accommodation, if you're coming for a business visit, you can show the itinerary, the booking confirmations, etc. Especially for business visits, you can also show if you are meeting several people. Usually I have seen, we do advise corporates on such matters a lot on the business visitor visas. So they would carry like an itinerary of what they're going to do on a daily basis. People just come for a week, 10 days, they're going to meet this person. Usually a schedule of their daily work is also produced. That also helps. You are not required to, but this is what you are trying to win the confidence of the immigration officer. It's a human being, so they have a right to ask you anything and everything to assess whether you are a genuine visitor. So the definition calls that genuine visitor. So that is what they are trying to assess. Whatever you have at your disposal, any letter, any tickets, itinerary, anything and everything showing that you are a genuine visitor, that will help the case. And these are the main questions that are asked, I've always seen. I will also touch on, this is the visitor side. If you are entering, there is a lot of students and skilled workers entering. I don't think students are asked a lot of questions because they are already interviewed if there are any concerns before. So usually if you are on a skilled worker visa, so just briefly I will touch on this. They may ask you something about your job role, your qualifications, because you may or may not be assessed at previous stages. So there are different stages where you may be assessed at the defined costs application point, at the visa application point when you file that, and the processing period. And this is the third point where they can also ask you regarding any questions regarding either your qualifications, the job role, etc. How did you get the job, to assess that you are a genuine skilled worker. So again, the same point of genuine comes up. So these are the only main two areas where you may be asked. There are other areas they can ask you questions on any of them. Mainly I'm focusing on visitors who are asked usually questions, especially if you don't know the language, if you cannot speak English, they will try to help you out. By default, they should ideally get a translator, but at the airports usually it's quite rare to see this, that the translators will be brought in, but they have colleagues who do speak different languages. I've seen Indian parents, they have employees who speak Punjabi, some employees speaking Gujarati, some of them speaking Chinese also. So they do bring in such person and try to understand, use that person as a translator and try to understand what the individual entering is trying to say. Also, if you don't speak the language, it is always suggested that you do bring a letter from your sponsor, whoever is your relative or whoever is in the UK, who is sponsoring you for the visit. Sponsoring does not mean they have to pay for the visit, but sponsoring means they are saying that yes, you will stay at their place or you are their relative, etc. So sponsoring in this context does not mean spending for your visit. They may not be spending, you may be spending for your visit. But if you have someone who you will be meeting, who you will be staying with, etc., then definitely get a letter in English from them stating the facts of your case as to this person, we are sponsoring Mr. X. Mr. X will be staying in the UK from this date to this date, if you have the dates, or 4 weeks. Let's say if you have weeks, they will be doing usual tourism. We confirm that they will be living with us at this particular place. You can put their council tax bill, their land registry if they own it, or tenancy agreement instead of that, and in such a way, and an ID copy of that person, and maybe some income documents, maybe last 3 months pay slips, bank statements, if they are sponsoring you financially as well. And if you're self-employed, they're self-employed, then maybe at least the latest tax return plus bank statements, etc. So yes, so these are all the things that you can carry. These are the questions you will be faced with, and yes, so that is all. And if you do like this video, or if you have your particular specific situation, if you have oversight in the past, or any concerns that you have, if you are sent by an employer, or if you are an employer and you want to send your employee to the UK, and you have questions regarding that, definitely book a consultation with us. The links will be under the video or on our website. We do advise corporates, individuals on visitor visas, person visit, business visit, tourism, etc., even permitted paid engagements, etc. So there are different reasons why this route is quite a broader route internally. So though it is called just visitor, but there are different reasons why people visit: marriage visitor visa, permitted paid engagements, etc., etc. So we do advise on all the matters under visitor, everything under visitor. If you do like this video, do subscribe to our channel, do like this video. There are individuals who are concerned, who are worried if they are coming for the first time, and they have that concern of what type of questions I'll be faced with. I have seen myself when I'm at the airport. I understand people coming for the first time. It is quite daunting for them. So yes, nothing to worry about. If you are a genuine visitor, try to carry some documents, try to have your answers on these points. They are just trying to assess. They want to make sure the borders are safe. You will leave at the end of your entry. You will not be illegally working in the UK. That's it. Do subscribe to our channel and like this video. Thank you very much.